folks. This is me, Vishwas Narayan. I'm the host of this DevOps chat series, and today I'm with Poonam, one of my community fellow mates, and trust me, one of the most genuine people to talk to because, we don't have any reason not to do a session. We have all the reason. Like, she's always supportive, and I am very glad that I've got a sister from another mother. Trust me, she's actually an amazing woman to approach, to just get to talk to. Like, we talk a lot apart from tech. We sometimes do talk tech, but apart from that, we talk a lot of stuff, by the way. And she's an amazing person. I wish all of you learn a lot from her and just keep hustling. And I think Poonam is one of the best people to just reach out to and get some guidance. It will be helpful for you. And I think this is all about the developer's perspective towards the operations which is happening in the industry. Is the culture that we are developing. And I think Poonam has around 5 years of experience, and in that experience, we are just going to cover all the insights that we require in order to survive in this industry. And I think I'm very glad Poonam is on my show. We talk very long times in the night, and we used to talk about hey, we just talk a lot of tech and also a little bit of some things apart from the tech as well. So I'm very glad Poonam is here. Thank you so much, Poonam. Means a lot.
Hi Vishwas, thanks for having me.
Sure, sure. So let's just go on with your journey as a fresher. Like, how did you come to an IT industry, and how did the IT world welcome you at the end of the day? How was it all about when you entered the IT world?
So it all started from when I had to choose a subject in my junior college. Like you have various options. So there you have geology, IT, and other subjects. So there I was kind of intrigued with IT as a subject, and I didn't have until my SSC. So in 11th, 12th, I went for IT as an optional subject, and there it kind of started that I started liking this subject because you have those practicals, computer labs where you build some HTML pages. So I was wooed by all of this. So I really liked the subject in 11th, 12th. Then from there, I chose to go for an IT engineering degree. And that's how it all started. And when I learned IT, you go into core subjects where you learn a lot of stuffs like computer networking, how the operating system works, everything what happens when you right from when you load the system, what happens in the background. So everything was very interesting for me. And then my journey started from Geo, where I joined as an automation tester. It was a campus placement, and there I did automation testing for about 1.5 year. So I have both experience of both the worlds, testing and development. And so in Geo itself, I have so out of the 5 years of experience, I have 3 years of experience in Geo, and rest of the 2 years I am in Telstra, which is a telecommunication company in Australia. So you can call it as Australia's Geo.
That's true. That's true. Because it's all about that. Like, working your way in the IT world, like, you had to move from an automation tester to a developer role. And, it's always takes a huge amount of stress in order to build yourself. Like, it's a next level. It's a next level. It's a next level. It's a next level. What next? Because
Yeah.
there's always a chance that you have to say, what next? I've got this. What next? I've got this. What next will be the entire mindset that everybody goes in. So how was it all about when you were climbing the stairs of from a tester to a developer to an cloud professional to some extent, where you had to deal with some cloud aspects? Now you have an amazing knowledge of Redis. Of course, when you gave a session, that means like you're well versed to go on with the session. So what was it all about when you are climbing that ladder in the IT world? So how did that work just go on through your life? Like, of course, community is very, very new to you, but like, how is it today when you look back at the same old journey back?
So for me, I was always interested into development. But for initially, I got an opportunity to work as an automation tester, which also involved development, but not the product side of things. It was more of testing side of things, where you build products for testing the products. So it's like those are like internal projects. But I wanted to build projects that directly serve the customer. So thankfully, I got an opportunity in Geo itself to switch to. Development, and the team was very helpful. So in the industry, it also matters which company you work for and how the culture is for your personal growth. So it everything was perfect for me, and then slowly started growing as a developer. So everything was initially pretty new for me: databases, the caching, everything that you mentioned. So I started learning, and then I started building APIs for various geo media applications. So I was into geo media, and there I built the APIs for Geo Talks, which is like TED Talks, where you host talks, internal talks. For initially it was for internal employees, then it went on for everyone. So it's now open for everyone on geotalks.com. You can check it out. There from there I also worked on a couple of more projects, interesting projects like Geo News. Then there was automatic number plate recognition. There from there I made, so all of this was into Node.js, which is like the current trending backend language. And so the main motive behind using Node.js was based on JavaScript. So you don't have to learn a new language for building backend. If you know front end, you know JavaScript, then you can also do backend. So yeah, in startup environment, people generally go for skills you already have. So it was cool. In Geo, I can say that I got to experiment a lot. I got to discover myself, what I want to do in my career, and from there, I was pretty confident that now I can make a transition in my career. So it was ambitious, but I moved to Salesforce because Salesforce was trending a lot. So I wanted to see what this Salesforce thing is. So Salesforce, it's hosted in cloud, where you have everything inbuilt. It's like it's a customer relationship management tool, but you can build everything on top of it. So you have to build everything on top of it. You can't have like you can't have your own database, your own caching mechanism. They provide you everything. So if you want to get started up and running with anything, you can go for Salesforce. And also suppose you have a product and you want to build their other products, like so suppose you buy a sim, and you if you go to the store, they have some console, right, where they place the order. So that console, you can build it from Salesforce. Likewise, there are many examples of Salesforce implementation. So they provide you everything out of the box, like role based access. So there you save the resources and the efforts of building the whole mechanism. Then they also provide you caching. They have their own database. They have their own backend language, front end language.
That's the transition, right? It's all about like how do you actually move ahead. Like, sometimes when we think of moving ahead, like, trust me, I don't know how to do anything apart from deep learning. To some, for a while I thought so, then I switched on to a lot of things. It's always that challenge that you give to yourself, right? It's always that, okay, I have this, what next?
Yeah.
And what can I build using it, what can I learn more, what can I accomplish more. It's always that. So, like, it's always there. Private cloud, I think probably some people still make sure that they are in private cloud. Like, some academic institutions are still in the private cloud, some, like, some part of their workload is still on the private cloud, but some of it is on the cloud which is their public. So what was it all about when you transitioned from a private cloud, and how was the chaos pursued there? Because what you learned in a private cloud might be very similar to what you face in the public cloud as well, but there is an added complexity of networking, this, that, because on premises there is a network NOPS, a network operations guy, and things like that. So you saw the private cloud environment in Geo. So how was the chaos perceived there? Like, how did the people see the way in which we are doing the rollback mechanism, the way in which the development happens? And how is it all about when you think of the days when you are in Geo, when you had a public cloud which was away from your access, but there was an private cloud which was built for you?
So I was lucky to be able to use directly use physical servers for deployments. So initially there was less of DevOps, I would say, there, because they were also growing as a tech company. So there initially the deployments and everything was manually, where you go SSH into the server and do the deployment. But I saw a major shift that in Geo in the last year, where after 2 years of my joining, they completely changed the DevOps culture there. They built the whole CI/CD pipeline. So it was a very good developer experience for me as a developer. Before this, I had to once I'm done with the code, I had to make sure that it gets deployed. So after the CI/CD pipeline was set up, it was no more my. I didn't have to worry about it. So I just have to commit my code and rest. Everything was taken care. Thanks to the DevOps team that's there in Geo. They work nights on this project. So what happens in startups is they look at other companies, how they are building things, and they get inspired. They want to implement the same things in their company as well. So this is how it started. That our engineering lead, he saw how things are happening and he was pretty inspired and he wanted the same thing in our premises. So he proposed a few ideas. Then then we had this whole setup of Jenkins, um, then Docker, Kubernetes. So Kubernetes used to take care of rollback and everything. And since we already had the physical servers, we deployed all of these instances, and it was all smooth and running. And then there was this new craze of switching all the monolithics to microservice architecture. Like we have authentication for every media application. So authentication was, let's separate this out so that it's a common module. Otherwise, authentication was repeated in every project. So it's doing great job. Like if you join a startup, you really get to learn a lot, and you do get to implement stuff. And you can walk up to anyone's desk and ask them, "Hey man, what you're doing?" And they will guide you. They will teach you what they're doing, and you will get some hint of how things work in networking, how things work in DevOps. So yeah, that's how it was done. And I would
Yeah,
say if you work in a in a big company, you don't get that much of exposure because you get a very small chunk of work, a refined piece of work. But if you're in a startup, you are responsible for everything. No doubt you will have a lot of pressure, but then it is good for you. You get to learn a lot. Since you're new in the industry, you want to soak every knowledge out there.
that's true. That's true. Because I saw a lot of startups which were so agile. They take on the giants. I think probably there are startups who are ready to take on the giants. It's not like unicorn in a day. They
Yeah,
have their own struggle that they have done. They have their own ways of things that they did, and I'm pretty glad that I saw that process which they had initially. And today, when I see them like back, and I just talk to any of those people who work there or else the CEOs of those companies, I feel so proud that okay, I was part of that initial days where they were so had that annoying CI/CD pipelines for all the things. Like let's say app deployment had an annoying CI/CD pipeline. Now there is a culture for them, and they knew that it's so annoying for us to even read the red text sometimes. It's always there. So how was that Salesforce transition? Because seeing what happens in a private cloud will be so motivating, but seeing a CMR system like CRM systems which just do all this stuff, it's not CMR, it's CRM. So
yeah,
customer relationship management. Salesforce is actually rocking the way in which they are building it. It's on AWS instance, by the way. It's on
yeah.
AWS instance. So everything has been configured, everything has been there. So how is it all about when you transition from that private cloud team to the Salesforce team? I know that you said you don't get to learn a lot, but what was it all about when you transitioned initially?
It does make your life easier, but here you have different teams that may make it as a black box for you how things are deployed and everything. You just get the instance, you have to log into it and do your work, your development work or testing work. You don't have to worry about anything else, like bringing this instance up. So in that way it has been very easy for me as a developer. I just have to go there, build things up. But
True.
if you go into private cloud, there you every problem that occurs in the system, it's your problem. You have to solve it. But if you
That's
go
how.
for these products like Salesforce, so you have people from Salesforce to support you, to
Hmm.
provide any solutions that you want that are not supported in the out of box features. So yeah, if you have a product, you do have advantages of it. But if you don't have a product, you have to learn everything and solve your own problems.
Yeah, that's true because like when DevOps is all about perceiving how the chaos has been. Like 99.99% chance there will be a production issue some or the other.
Yeah.
And of course, when you are on a private cloud, everything is your baby. Like you will be like so fond of it, like you feel that we have done everything right, but there is something wrong out there. So that's what it's all about. When there is an DevOps is always about learning what's there inside the chaotic environment, like what
Yeah.
happens in the. We say production is nothing but the different set of codes which is being compiled at once and it breaking at one given point. Probably that's what production issues are all about. They have made that funda of saying that, hey, production issue is this and that. It's nothing much, it's just the set of code which was being compiled, but where's the issue? That's the biggest thing that out there. So it's not about development today, it's all about the operations, right? But
Yeah.
what's it all about when you are in the operations team and you have an amazing tool like Node.js? What is it all about when you see that kind of an environment today? Like, how is people's perception towards the Node.js? Because Ryan Dahl wrote it, but to be very frank, Ryan Dahl is not happy about it. He took the V8 and he wrote some C code. It is now with JavaScript. That's fine. But like he also has written something called as Don't, and he's not satisfied about it. But Node.js is the funda in the industry today. So what is it all about when we talk about Node.js ruling the world of backend or the front end? It has everything. So what is it all about when we talk about Node.js in the industry?
So the creator of Node.js, he made it very easy. Like you can spin up a server in 5 minutes in Node.js. In the PHP world, you had to have a different server, and understanding it and connecting both the things took time. But with Node.js, if you know JavaScript, you can get started with it. And if you even don't know JavaScript, the syntax is pretty easy. But if you go for any other language like C sharp, that's a bit difficult to understand. And you have to write many functions that are not already there. But with Node.js, you get a very good package manager, NPM, where you have everything that you can think of is already there. You just have to get the package, install it, and collaborate it with your project. That's how simple it is with Node.js. You can even do your personal projects, and many cool things you can build with it. And there are so many companies who are taking on to this new technology because it's fast, and it provides many good features.
Yeah, that's true because it was actually it's a web engine which is embedded on it. So some people have that, right? Node.js is a framework. No, Node.js is a runtime. It's not a framework. But
Yeah.
NPM is a framework at the end of the day, where NPM is a package manager. You get NPM packages and you can deploy it. And of course, there is a set of JSON to be written for that as well. So there is always a complexity of that. So you saw the way in which the full stack development is, and of course she's one of the people who gave me resources for the full stack interview. So that recording is not yet done, so I'll make sure that it will be done soon. And the link will be in the description, by the way. The link will be in the description as well. So what is it all about when we talk about learning resources for the full stack has huge set of complexity. Like not everybody can do front end and back end, but you can think about what can be the chaos. Like let me just say you're writing some test cases. You need to have a little bit of knowledge of front end, and you need to have a amazing knowledge about backend if you are writing a good amount of test code. So what is it all about when we talk about learning resources for being a full stack developer, and how can somebody sit for an interview with no experience? Because you had no experience, you have sat the interview. So how is it all about when you enter the interview room, and what was your preparation before that? Like all the resources and everything that can really guide us through.
So, as a college student, there are many good resources out there. Like W3C is a very good resource where you get that try it yourself window. You can go there, try some code snippets. So, basics you can learn from there. Then there's also Code Academy where you can learn the basics. Now they have also started some web development tracks where full stack engineer tracks. It's in the pro membership, but it's very good. If you compare with other resources, like if you go for video resources on Udemy and stuff, you will just be watching it. But if you have an interactive environment like Code Academy, left hand side you'll have the editor, right hand side you have the output, and there's one more tab on the extreme left hand side where you have all the instructions that you need to follow. So it's like they are holding your hand, but not completely. You do have to do stuff. So I like that kind of environment. And also for beginners, it's very good. And once you get the hang of these things, then you won't need much of hand holding. So for those people, documentation is the best thing. Like if you go for any framework like Vue.js, React.js, AngularJS, all these popular frameworks, before this you do need to have a strong base on HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. These days what students are doing, they're going for these frameworks, but they don't have the basics clear. So I would recommend that you have these basics clear, and you can easily clear them from W3C or Code Academy. I don't know if there are any new hot resources that are in market, but these are what I referred to in my days, and it really helped me. And
Hmm.
coming back to these, and also for backend, you do get these on Code Academy. You get those tracks. If you do JavaScript, everything is done, backend, front end, and yeah, if you talk about the interview experience, so my first company was TCS where I got selected. So there, since it's a service based company, there they don't ask much of technical question because they do have their own training regime of 3 months where they grill you. They have their own exams, and if you don't clear them, you won't be selected. So in the interview, they asked me questions like. They placed a pen on the table and they said, sell this pen to me. Maybe they wanted to make me a
Wolf of Wall
customer.
Streets. Wolf of Wall Streets.
Maybe they wanted me to be customer facing and get the projects for them. I don't know, but
Hmm.
the tech there was mainframe, so that's why I didn't choose it because I wanted some latest technology. Then, if I talk about Geo's interview experience, then there it was pretty technical, where you get some questions, some DSA questions, or some questions on how you can manipulate the string, or uh, those questions where you have to just get some output of a string or a number. Um, they give you some input and they want an output in some other form, something like that. So and there were also group discussion kind of interviews. So there were like variety of interviews. Some people went through those. Some people went through 2 rounds of interview where again they were asked about their final year project. So if you're just out of college, like you're sitting for campus placements, then you are thoroughly asked about your final year project. So you should know every bit of it. Even though you're doing a part of it, you should discuss it with the whole group and know everything about the project. Because some questions would be like, okay, this is if you explain the whole architecture of your project, they will pick up one module that they like and they will ask you just write a code snippet of it, how you will implement it. So you should know it, even if you have just copy pasted the code from internet. Still you should know how to implement it when you don't have any resources around, no Google, nothing.
Yeah, that's true, dude. That's true. Are we both tried. We did this project, we that project. See, most of it will be almost available in GitHub as well, and most of it is also available in Stack Overflow. Where some error you might face, you can just remove something. You can start adding your own features. It's always there. So it's always that rapid shift in the mindset that goes through. Like, okay, we have this amount of resources. How can we improvise? Or if we don't have resources, how can we generate a resource? And how can we improvise every step? It's always that step by step transition. I always say this to people, like, technology is like step by step, it's a whole new different complexity. Inch by inch there is a new solution coming up, like something like, okay, today we have React, there's a new company here, there's a new company for the tomorrow to solve another problem. There will be a new pioneer in the DevOps world. Like, if I see Chef really marked the history of alumni for the DevOps world. And if you think of Puppet, they're in all the DevOps state of the DevOps report and so on. Like Google, Puppet, Chef. I think there's a whole new different level of understanding that goes beyond when you dig into all these institutions. So let's just talk about SDLC for a while, because SDLC in a different companies differ in a different fashion. Like something like, I saw how the Flutter ALM works, like application lifecycle management and stuff like that. There's a new way in which people use a different technology in a different fashion. Like I think Namrata is doing the Git series. I think the links will be in the description. All three parts, and I didn't do the first part properly because my internet lagged on that day. So I'll make sure that I'll record it and I'll put it down in the comment section down here. But like, how is it all about when we talk about SDLC and everything that we are talking today? When you have experienced Geo on one hand and you have your own your own dreams on the other hand, which is always towards learning something new, and now you transition for a new company. So how is the SDLC differing right now? So what are the different experiences that you got?
Geo, I would categorize it as a startup experience, and my current company as an MNC. So, in startups, you don't really have any form of SDLC. One fine day, they'll come up to you, they will have a meeting, and you have to build this. We want to build this project or this feature in this project. Then people sit around. So there you get to plan stuff and implement stuff on your own. Like you have to decide what your database architecture would be, what the whole architecture would be in all. You will have caching, how data would be stored on the CDN. There would be a network team, but then you have to design the architecture for all the development work that you will be doing. But if you go on to an MNC, there you have solution engineers who will do all the designing work for you. You just have to put the bricks together. But in a startup world, you have to do the planning as well, designing, and even the coding. So you get exposure of lot of things. No doubt you have to learn these things first to optimize it and then do it in a perfect way. Otherwise, you will end up redesigning your database every time you get a new feature.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Like there is a rapid shift that goes in every organization, right? When a startup does think about new technology, they research about it and they move on. But like, how is this rapid shift in the development going to affect the culture that we are bringing in for an organization? Because I feel DevOps is all about building that right culture into your entire life cycle of development. Like something like, okay, developers might shift. Like one person might come today, one person might go out, one person might come today. He might develop something, he might go out. There's a lot of things that is happening here and there. Like there is a way in which you can work. There's a way in which the other person can also start working. So how is it all about when you see the rapid shift? Being the monopoly for changing the culture, because that culture that we are talking today is some sort of a definition for the future world that we are building. So what is it all about when we talk about the rapid shift that happens in an organization and it affecting the culture of development?
Nowadays, all the monolithic projects have been broken down into smaller chunks where you have small microservices. Those are more manageable, and you
Mhm.
require less number of people to manage those. And even if there is a new joinee, it won't be a burden on them to learn everything about the project. You just have to work on one microservice, and as time goes by, you get to learn other microservices as well. So I think this shift has been a very good shift for the developers and everyone who is involved in building and maintaining that project. Because if you step into a monolithic project, you don't know where you have to start from. If you are given a piece of work, you will be lost in the whole big project. But you have a microservice, then first of all, the problem seems small because the code base is small. So you get that confidence. Okay, I'll be able to do it. It's just these many files and these many lines of code in those files. So this has been great for companies who have adopted them and the developers who maintain them. Then you have this Scrum thing that is going on in companies where you have a few deliverables in time boxed fashion, where there will be a sprint. They have a concept called a sprint where you have 2 or 3 weeks of time. So consider it as you get an assignment and you have to finish it in 2 weeks, something like that. So they pick up a feature. So in industry, we have people with certain roles. You have product owners or business analysts. They will analyze what the customer needs. Then they will come up with stories. So stories, like it will be like customer stories, like what the customer needs and how the page would look like, or how the backend system should be for the customer. So a customer is like God. So So they pick up features in every sprint. They prepare stories, then sprint backlogs that are being picked, and then those features are built and delivered in that promised time. That's the sprint, and 6 to 7 developers will work on it. So whatever stories are built in that sprint, it will be developed, it will be tested, and then pushed to the higher environment, the QA environment, and then a development to the production environment as well. So this speeds up the whole process. Earlier, the development process used to take a lot of time. Like you ask for 3 months, 6 months just to deliver a big chunk of work. But if you go in sprint fashion, you get smaller pieces of work done, and it gets done in the complete time frame, because you don't get to waste your time, because you will be always monitored and you always have to deliver those small pieces. So this has really benefited the uh, developer community, because you also are clear what you have to deliver in this sprint. So the user stories act like your assignment where you have all the questions. Similarly, you have everything listed. These things need to be there, and there's a checklist that you have to complete in order to finish that story and mark it as done. So this really helps. And so the companies that follow Scrum, they see a higher productivity rate compared to companies where you have a lot of time to develop, but the developer sits clueless where to begin from and what needs to be delivered.
That's true, dude. That's true because it's all about that. Like, of course, there is rapid shift which happens in every organization. Something like you find something good in this language, or else probably that framework is getting good. Probably there is a need for you to migrate. Like something like .NET developers have something called as an LTS support, but yet they need to migrate to some extent for a new LTS support, which is actually coming up, right? It's all about that. How can we really energize the entire workflow that we have today in order to get that new product out? It's like you don't have to lose all the data, but yet it's always an hot fix that always works there, right? It's always that hot fix that you really want to do for your entire code base. And I think version control tools are rocking the world. I think Poonam, like, dude, just promise me one thing: 10 years down the line, you be a director of some company, okay? Like, fuck my life. It's not about that. Sorry to say this, but like, you're an amazing dude. Like literally, guys. I just shared her the question, and today I call her, and she's like, I don't know the questions. I'm like, okay, speak your heart off, and she's too good. And I think probably I'm just hoping you to be somebody great. And it's not about the hierarchy of what I do the interview. It's all about the insights that I collect on all these chat series, the podcast that I do, and things like that. I think it was great talking to you, Poonam, and make my dream come true of seeing you as a director and so on. So thank you so much, Poonam, for such great insights. And man, love the chat that we had right now.
Thanks, Vishwas. Same here.
We'll end the broadcast.